This show is brought to you by iRacing.com, where you can get 2 free months with the purchase of 1 for only $12 by going to iRacing.com/membership. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Darren Ganji, and today I'm going to do a tutorial on how I set up my my Thrustmaster TX 458 Italia racing wheel in Forza Motorsport 5. And now that the T3 PA pedals are out, I'm going to actually add a little quick tip on those as well. Your mileage may vary. Now, these are my settings. I'm not saying these are the settings that you need to run, but I've got the best results by setting things up like this. Going to do some 1080p capture, which is the first time I'm going to show this off. Got an Elgato capture card, and in the past I was doing 720 or 1080i, which interlaced just looks kind of crappy. But now I've got full 1080p capture, so going to do some capture. And then at the end, going to drive a couple cars from the Maguire's car pack that was just released, the DLC. So first thing I'm going to show you is how I have my brake adjusted. I have some close-up footage, and the T3 PA pedals come with a conical brake mod. And I like to have that conical brake mod basically pushed out as close to the back of the brake pedal as possible. Now, thing is, you can't fully max it out, because if you do, you're not going to be able to calibrate your brake in game. And that's another thing I want to mention. As soon as you start driving, first thing you need to do is push all your pedals to full extent, so Forza and the wheel are calibrated in sync, so to speak. Because I've noticed when you first start out, if you haven't touched the brake yet, you just barely touch it and it goes full brake. So you really got to push that brake to full brake and then start your racing. And then it's like that for the whole time you're racing. So that's the first thing I was going to talk about, was, like I said, the conical brake mod. And the reason why I have that mod pushed so far up to the brake is, or to the back of the pedal, I should say, is, for me, it provides a more solid brake feel, I guess you could say. I'm able to really hit my thresholds better versus trying to get that right position to where the brakes are, or the tires are going to start to lock up, and bottom line is you want to get to, before that point, you don't want to lock your tires up, so you want to get to that threshold braking point. And in my opinion, without this mod, you're really searching for that spot, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So now that I've got that settled or discussed, first thing you need to do is go, and this is my general settings. And again, your mileage may vary. I highly suggest you doing some trial and error, and the best place to go is in this tune upgrade area. You just go in there and hit Y for test drive, and it takes you can pick your car, or actually you've already picked your car, but you can pick a track, and instead of waiting for it to grid up, you actually ride on the track and start driving, so and then you can actually tune your car from there as well. So first thing you do, this is for my controller settings, go into your Forza profile, go to controller, and then once you're in the controller tab, hit X for advanced. And if you want to change your layout, you can do that there too. But I just use the default layout. And first thing I'm going to do, I believe actually, let's just reset to default. I like to pretty much get rid of all my dead zones. So steering axis dead zone, I've got at 100. The outside, inside's at 0. Acceleration, this one is at 15 default. I put that to 0 here on the dead zone inside, and basically that's when you first touch it. The outside is the maximum throw. The deceleration is actually a brake, so I put that. Actually, I usually give that I got like 5 inside dead zone on that. And if you want to shorten your throw on your brake, this is where you would do that as well. I've got mine at 100, so it's going to use the maximum brake throw. Clutch dead zone, I don't use the clutch since there's not a stick shift available yet, and that's going to be coming soon by Thrustmaster. And when it is available, I'll probably have that at 0 and then turn the outside down a bunch. So basically, you're not having to push the full throw of the clutch. You're only having to push it, you know, if it's at 50%, halfway before that clutch disengages. Handbrake I'm not using, so that doesn't really matter. Vibration, I usually turn that to about 50. And again, you want more vibration, turn it up. You want less, turn it down. Force feedback in general, I'll keep it 100. And if it seems like it's going to be too much in a particular car, I'll dial that back. But for the most part, I just leave it at 100. Now, this one is the key to really getting a good feel out of Forza Motorsport 5. Although this wheel is 900 degrees of rotation compatible, and the game will recognize that, it seems like the force feedback doesn't really kick in until you're at about 50 degrees. I mean, you could feel things like, let's say, this is, again, this can vary per car. For instance, I was just driving a front-wheel drive VW, and you can feel torque steer right off at the top of center. And I guess the best way to put it is you're not getting like a center spring feel on a lot of the cars where you really need it. And I'd say starting with the race cars, you know, open wheel cars, GT, you know, class cars, and even some of the faster street cars, you're going to want more center feel, whereas if you're driving, you know, a VW front wheel drive or the Ford. Actually, I was driving this Ford Fiesta a little just before I started the camera. Street cars like this have a little more play at center, where it's not more of a one-to-one instantaneous feel, and you want a little bit more degrees of rotation. But in some of those race cars, you don't. So, now another thing I want to tell you is, besides adjusting your degrees of rotation in this screen, you go to X again, you can also do it on the wheel. And the reason why I went to 540 is because I've already done it here on the wheel. And if you push the engine start button to the left and hold the mode button at the same time, that's going to turn it down. So 2 blinks of that is 360 degrees of rotation. Next step down should be 1 blink, which is 270 degrees of rotation. And then if you push to the right, or actually if you go to the left, it'll go back to 900 and just keep cycling. But if you push to the right, it'll start going up. So now it's at 360 degrees of rotation. And it doesn't show in this advanced control options, but if you back out and then come back in, it changes. You can actually change it in game, and it will affect the way the wheel feels. But let me give you another tip here, or tidbit about what happens. If you change that degrees of rotation and don't come back into this advanced controllers options, and you're driving from in car and you see the wheel, your wheel is not going to match up with what you have on the screen if you have a different degrees of rotation on the wheel versus what's showing in this advanced controller options. So that being said, I got a tip from Christian Gurgis, who works for Turn 10 while I was up there for my tour. And he told me to run 330 degrees of rotation. I think it was for the Coyote, the Gilmore Coyote car. And I've noticed that that is a good feel kind of across the board. Now again, do your homework. Don't just take these settings and say, oh, well, Darren, you told me to run this and it didn't work well in my front wheel drive Honda or whatever you're going to be driving. Again, do trial and error and see what you like the best. And again, my dead zone settings may not be what you like the best. Speaking of it, oh no, I've got this all right. So use trial and error, figure out what you like best, and then go from there. Oh, one thing I didn't mention at the top of this, if you haven't upgraded your firmware for this wheel, it's only going to be at 270 degrees max rotation. You need to hook it up to a PC. You need to download the current driver from the Thrustmaster website. And then once you have it loaded on the PC, you go into update firmware and it'll update the firmware. And you have to have version 4, 5, or greater if you're watching this later and they've updated it again to allow that extra degrees of rotation. That being said, I'm gonna drive a couple cars here and kind of show you what I'm talking about, I guess, for the most part. So let's pick, actually, let's drive this Audi R8. Actually, I was going to do McGuire's car pack, I'm sorry. Let's drive the GT2 car. The BMW, actually it's an M3, I think it's a DTM car. So I'm gonna drive that really quick. Gonna take it out to Long Beach. That's my favorite track. And now I'm gonna go back to that tune upgrade screen, so I'm not having to, I just wanna go by myself, I don't wanna race anybody. Hit the Y button. Actually, it's gonna make me pick the track again here. Pick Long Beach. And it's gonna put me right on track, so I'm not having to race against other cars or do anything like that. So, I'm in the BMW now, the DTM car. I'm gonna go in car really quick. And as you can see, it only goes 90 degrees on screen. But as you can see, I'm pretty in sync with what the car is doing. And honestly, I don't like this view at all for this car. So I'm gonna drive it from the hood. So remember, I'm at 330 degrees of rotation. Gotta say with this car too, let the tires warm up. Lap or two before the thing really starts. Even though the tires say that they're not blue anymore, I'd still give it an extra lap. So what this degrees of rotation does, again, it gives you more center feel, like a center spring feel, and allows you to catch what the car is doing better. So actually, let me give you an example now. So let's just stop right here. Now I'm going to increase the degrees of rotation to 900 while I'm in car. So that's 3 blinks. So that's 4 blinks. So now if you look, I've got full degrees of rotation. You know, there's no soft stop. But I'm not feeling anything here. I mean, I feel a little bit, but I have to really steer to there before I start feeling that center spring. And a race car like this DTM, you want to have a more one-to-one feel, in my opinion. Now let me show you what happens with the wheel when you do that. So it's not a one-to-one showing wheel anymore. But you do get that degrees of rotation. So let's say you go into a race and you forgot. Hopefully you're not having to be forced. And if you're offline, it's not going to matter. But if you're forced cockpit view, let's say in a multiplayer race, you're going to be stuck looking at a wheel that's not rotating. Now let's turn this degrees of rotation back down again. Now it's not going to go to 330 for me like Christian had recommended, but it'll go to 360, which is pretty close. Now you may want to even go down to 270 for like an Indy car or something, because those guys, you know, they're not really turning the wheel that much. Honestly, if they are, they're in trouble. Not that I'm an IndyCar driver and I know, but just based on seeing in-car cameras, and actually rode in an IndyCar, 2-seater IndyCar at Sonoma one time, which was pretty cool. Anyway, just in general, with that lower degrees of rotation, just get more of a center feel. You can just kind of feel what the car's doing at center a lot better. It just gives me a better overall feel. Now, in some cars, it might be too twitchy for you, like, nope, that's not looking good. Let me get out of here. Some cars, it may be a little too twitchy for you. Like, again, in that front-wheel drive Fiesta I was driving, it seemed it was a little too twitchy. I wanted more degrees of rotation. I think 540 was a better feel for me. But again, trial and error, and it's what you like best, not what I like best. I've had a lot of requests to share my wheel settings with people, Matter of fact, I don't know the guy's name, but every time I put out a new video, if it isn't this one, he's bugging me asking, where is it? So for you, buddy, here it is. I'm finally doing it for you. Let's drive one more car, which is kind of fun. I drove earlier. I think my mom had one of these cars, which kind of dates me a little bit. Not that I really care. The new 57 Chevy from the Meguiar's car pack. I'm gonna go to 900 with this one. Watch, it should show that I'm at 360 now because I switched there. Yep, sure enough, 360 degrees of rotation. So I'm gonna go all the way to 900. And actually, I'm kind of curious if the game overrides the wheel since I had changed that to 360, or if I have to match them up. So I'm gonna kind of find out right here on the fly. Again, when you go to there, go to test drive. Why don't we go someplace else here? Let's go to Prague. I love Prague. Now I gotta wait a second for the load up screen. But yeah, back to like what I said, try on error, and that goes for the brake too. If you don't like a stiffer brake that I do, then back that conical brake mod off, or if you don't like that progression at all, take it off. You don't have to run that conical brake mod. It's not forced. I got some comments. I just did my T3 PA pedal review, and I got some comments. Why do I need those pedals? I can't use the clutch yet. Well, you could if you wanted. You could paddle shift with the clutch, but the stick is coming, and I'd say it's worth it just for that brake alone. So, okay, let's see if the 900 degrees of rotation. Yeah, I got full 900 degrees of rotation, even though I didn't change it on the wheel here. And then if you look, let's go in car. Matches up pretty good. Might be a little bit of input lag. I honestly don't feel that. I know every time I do a piece on Forza, people are saying, how can you drive with that input lag? I honestly don't feel it. Remember, before you start too, do full throw of your brake. Gas, you're already going full gas. I mean, if you're not going full throttle at the start. I mean, some cars you're gonna spin the tires, but. Now, at the 900, I'm feeling the cobblestones and stuff like that. I have some feeling. And honestly, this car, you know, especially a 57 Chevy, it had some, you know, major power steering. I don't know if it had power steering, but I would imagine it had some play in the wheel. So I kind of want that for this car anyway. But I like the way this car feels with it. I don't mind this this view either. I got definitely more windshield view in cockpit with this car. It was kind of cool to see the old gauges, big old wheel in my face. And I'm feeling some good force feedback, right? Almost at center. There's some play. Whoa, into the wall. As you can see, I'm not going for hot laps here. I'm just kind of tooling around just to get a feel for the force feedback and where that center spring starts to kick in. So now, if you wanted to have a twitchier feel and more feeling at center, actually, let's try it here in this car. So I'm going to turn. Yeah, it looks like it reset on the wheel too because it just flashed 3 times when I went down. So looks like the game will override the wheel and put it back to the rotation that you set it at. Yeah, so I'm at, I think I'm at 360 right now. And there's definitely a lot more feel at center. I'm starting to feel it right when I turn here, versus turning it 45 degrees at least before I start to get that center spring feel. You can tell it's twitchier too, compared to the way it was driving earlier. Now let's go in car really quick and you can see how the wheel changes too. See how the wheels just dance? I'm barely turning the wheel. and it's moving all over the place, it's because it's not matching what I have it set in the profile. So that's going to wrap it up. This wasn't really a test drive. This was more, again, to show you how to set your wheel up, or how I set my wheel up. Again, trial and error. You do it the way you want it, but I'm just giving you some tips on how you can, get the most out of this and get a better feel for it. And I really recommend, anything on the race car side, no more than 360 degrees, and even down to 270 on like an Indy car or, Formula One car, something like that. I'd say max use Christian Gurgis's tip, 330 probably is a good baseline, and you can adjust that and it'll set your wheel up like that. So that's going to do it. Come to our website, isrtv.com. Lots of Forza Motorsport news. We keep up with everything. I have a link right here on the screen that you can click on. It'll take you right to our Forza Motorsport news page. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you've got something out of this. I'm Darren Ganji for Inside Sim Racing. I'll see you guys next time.